So, welcome everybody. I have an awesome lady here to talk about a very important topic in the realm of Smash. So, I have Dr. Caitlin McGee. Did I mispronounce that name?
Nope, you got it right.
Awesome. Okay, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I'm a physical therapist. I got my degree from the University of Delaware. In terms of esports, I started out on the PC gaming side. Don't hate me too much. But that's where I started out with a lot of carpal tunnel injuries, a lot of carpal tunnel issues. Kind of expanded into the console side of things as well, which culminated in me being at Pound 2016 last week, which was an absolutely fantastic experience.
So, did you immediately go right into esports? So,
No, I actually, my day job is I work at a hospital. I primarily work with patients who have brain and spinal cord injuries, a little bit different than your standard esports population. I just had a couple friends who played quite a bit and were suffering as a result of it, and got kind of into it that way.
okay. You know, the funny story is, I actually followed you on Twitter not because of your physical therapist stuff, because I also noticed that you had the ST standard deviation stats,
Yes.
and I love stats, so I was like, oh my gosh, I should follow this person.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm also I am the lead admin for Standard Deviant Stats. We are a group of stats people who focus primarily on Dota, but we also work with One Frame Link for the FGC stats. Um, so yeah, you might have heard of us a little bit that way. You probably actually know the founder of One Frame Link, Nick.
yes,
Yeah.
I'm good friends with him. Actually, we were trying to collaborate between the fighting game community and the Smash community as well. So it's
Yeah.
really nice that all these entities are coming together. And then I noticed that you're in Matt Demers' Discord, so it's really nice
Yep.
that you're slowly merging into Smash. So, how did you make that jump into like getting into Smash? Were you always into it, or tell us a little bit about that?
So I actually started following Smash probably about a year and a half ago. I was flipping through Twitch because there was no good Dota on, and I came across Prague and D1 casting together, which is obviously an immediate hook. Um,
Yeah,
so I had a small moment of fangirling when I actually met them at Pound 2016. I was like, "You guys are literally the reason that I started watching Smash." But they're the reason I got started, and then I kind of just like followed the scene for a while. Was generally doing uh, help for PC gamers primarily, still following the scene. And then this January, Matt Demers, as you mentioned, he posted this networking list kind of women in esports. And I followed a few of them, and a bunch of them happened to be Smash or Melee. And I noticed at G3 a lot of people on stream like shaking out their hands or like stopping and stretching. Like the infamous, prior to that, the infamous Xbox standing up sets. And I tweeted at a couple of the girls that I followed who ended up being Smash Sisters, would people be interested if I posted like just a quick little ergonomics blurb for people who play Smash? And they were like, yeah, no, post that right now. And I posted it, and it exploded immediately. Uh, and that was what got me in touch with Nintendo. And when I found out that he was hosting a tournament right in my stomping grounds, right near Arlington, Virginia, got in touch with him, tried to see if I could come to the event.
got it. And so you just messaged him, or did he message you, and you just kind of connected from there?
No, I just found the email on the Pound 2016 website, and I was like, hey, I'm a PT. I'm 3 metro stops from you. Do you want a PT on site? Here's what I can do for you.
Awesome. Well, we love to have you. That's amazing that you came out of your way on your own will and decided just to help us out. That's awesome. So, what was your experience at Pound 2016 like? What did you exactly do for the people that weren't familiar?
So I had a couple roles. The first one, I kind of did walk-in ergonomic and just general injury prevention consults. So you could walk in, you give me a bit of information on, your history. Did you have any injuries prior to this? How long have you been playing for? How long do you usually play in a day? Do you take breaks? How do you hold your controller? Who's your main? That's actually important. That kind of thing. I also did. Let's see. I was backstage with the top eights, helping them do warm ups and cooldowns. I helped with teaching people how to do stretches, and I shamelessly snuck in and watched the entirety of the Smash Sisters event because it was fantastic.
That's awesome. So you mentioned something really funny with the, and you kind of smirked with the character mains. So what did you what did you notice just in your one day where you're consulting people with their hands and their wrists?
All right, so because you've mentioned stats, I do have to clarify. This is all anecdotal. I don't have enough data to say that this is anything significant yet. But
Okay.
a lot of what I noticed was that Fox, Falco, and Falcon mains have a tendency to have issues up in their posterior forearms on the back of their arm up about here. Which I'm wondering if it might have to do with the grip that people tend to use on the controller or the rate at which yeah, Fox mains have, yes, they do indeed. I noticed with a lot of Sheik mains, they had a lot of right thumb pain here at the base of the thumb, but not all that much going on at the base of the left thumb, which might have to do with movement. Not sure. Let's see, what else did I see? I didn't see too many ices, so I can't really see anything there. I'm sorry. I know, like, the new thing is we have to figure out how to beat ices constantly, but I got nothing on that one as far as their hands go, guys. But yeah, no, Fox and Falcon mains. People are asking about Marth mains. Not enough. There's really only one Marth main that came across my desk, so I can't really tell you anything. Moonwalks on Falcon, yes. I also heard a lot of complaints about wave dashes causing pain.
Got it. You know, that's really funny because that right fat part of my palm actually hurts a lot, and I'm a Sheik main, and I have to get my girlfriend to like really like push it out, and because it's always like throbbing after a while.
So if you're not, if she's not on hand to help out your hands, and that was terrible, I apologize for the pun. What you may want to do is pick up a tennis ball. You can use the tennis ball to roll out your palm. You know, you put the ball on the desk, and you put your hand on top of it, and you roll yourself out like that. Really good way to kind of just do, like just a quick, easy self-massage technique.
Okay, I'm gonna start bringing tennis balls because that's exact pain I have. So there's one funny picture. I think it was like somebody's like LAN setup, right? And I think he wrote a comment and it was like, "Oh no, that's like the worst like ergonomic setup," right? So you know, when you're walking around the venue, was there anything that was just like outright like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe these smashers are doing blank"?
Let's see. For the most part, nothing too terrifyingly obvious, although I may have been distracted by the fact that MLG was on earlier in the week, and CSGO like constantly gives me like crises of PT-ness because, dear God, the monitors are like here and their keyboards are sideways and y'all are nothing compared to that. That being said, the biggest thing I notice is, and I know everybody does it, leaning forward to be closer to the monitor. In an ideal world, everybody's chairs would be close enough that you could just lean back and relax and have your hands supported and your back supported. But I recognize that that's not the case. So if you are going to be leaning forward, which inevitably everybody is, because, you know, matches get hyped, sets get close, you're down to your last stock, whatever. If you're going to be leaning forward, just like don't do the Hunchback of Notre Dame thing where you round your back completely. Just keep your back flat.
So what are the consequences if I keep doing that? Because I'm a lean type of person.
So the constant leaning and the constant rounding of your back does put a lot of stress on the discs between your vertebrae. So over time, you can wear them down and cause disc herniations, and it's the kind of thing that takes decades to do. It's just ideally you're changing positions. Even more ideally, you're having your back supported.
Mm. So I should be like sitting back in general.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that actually does have a bit of a tie into kind of your psychology of play. When you're in that lean forward position, you know, arms resting on your knees, you know, really close, really contracted, really tight, there's definitely like a feeling of urgency. Whereas leaning back kind of promotes a little bit more relaxation, relaxes your shoulders. The big important thing for leaning back is that if your back is supported, it helps to keep your shoulders, elbows, wrists, and hands in a more optimal position, because you really want to make given that, you know, your hands are kind of your moneymaker when it comes to playing Smash, you really want to make sure that you're protecting those most of all.
I see. Have you ever seen? I'm sure if you watched tournament videos where like Mewtwo King's legs are crossed and he's kind of hunched. Is there any detrimental effects to that or not? Because a lot of people are most curious about him.
Yes, I'm aware. So sitting with your legs crossed isn't inherently a bad thing. It can promote some SI joint stability, especially if you have instability in that area in the first place. That being said, feet planted flat on the floor, a little bit apart, is your best bet for providing the most support to your back, and then being able to lean back to support as well. Um, M2K is a bit of a special case, though, in terms of how he sits. So.
Got it. Okay, we might get into that, may or may not.
I'm sure.
So you mentioned earlier about recommending, I guess, startup routines, and I kind of make an analogy to, I guess, stretching or warming up before, you play a sport. But I don't quite understand what that may look like in the context of Smash. Like, will I sprain something if I go too quick, or what exactly do you mean by warming up or stretching?
So, everybody already warms up before they play a competitive match. You do some slow matches, and then you do some fast sets, and then you go into your game. And that's kind of movement specificity. That's the comparison to that would be before a soccer game. You'll see players going out and doing movement drills. They'll be doing practicing shots, practicing crosses. So of course you need to practice those specific movement patterns as part of your warm up. However, before that, just as before you start taking shots in soccer, you also need to do a dynamic warm up to get your muscles warmed up in the first place. And yes, there's nothing inherently bad about using hand warmers. But you may actually want to use your hand warmers on the upper part of your forearm instead, because that'll warm up the muscles that control your wrist extension and your finger extension. And then follow that with a stretch. The one thing I would caution is that you don't want to overstretch before you play. As much as it's good to be relaxed before you play, you do need some amount of tension if you're going to have, quick reaction times. So if I had to give advice on a specific pattern to follow, and you absolutely have to use hand warmers, then I'd say use hand warmers first, 8 to 10 minutes, no more than that, followed by stretching, about 2 to 5 minutes, followed by going into some practice gameplay. And that should get you more than warmed up enough to be kicking butt and taking names.
Nice. So you have some in your guide, but what are like the most memorable ones that you like the most important ones?
The biggest stretch that I see people not doing is one for the back of the forearm. So the best way to do this, and I'm going to try and make sure my arm stays on camera for this, you want to start from your wrist, move down the back of your hand, then curl your fingers underneath as well. And to add to the stretch, you want to straighten out your arm all the way. You should feel that right up the back of your forearm. If that is too much, if it's uncomfortable, there's nothing wrong with not straightening your arm all the way out. The point is to feel a stretch, not to feel pain.
Okay.
The other thing is that everybody does know this one to, stretch across the front part of your forearm. Just be really careful with this one that you're not overstretching. You don't want to put too much pressure on your carpal tunnel.
Got it. So what exactly, what do you think is like the leading cause of wrist pain and hand pain, especially, amongst the Fox players? Is it just the raw APM? What's your preliminary prognosis?
It's tough to say without having more information, but I'd say most likely it's a combination of having a tight grip, having to move your fingers very quickly, and not getting enough break time. And I'm not saying that like you can only play for half an hour at a time. Like, I'm not your mom, you play whatever you want. But every half hour, if nothing else, if you can set a reminder to pay attention to your posture. Every half hour you check, are my shoulders creeping up towards my ears? Am I holding my controller really tight? Am I like getting really contracted and anxious? If you can stop and relax your posture, that'd be great. Even better than doing that is if every half hour you could stop for like a minute, maybe 2 minutes max, stand up so that you're taking some pressure off your back, and then do a quick stretch of your hands.
The ones that you just mentioned?
Those would be the easiest ones, although that guide that you conveniently posted in chat does also have an entire hand stretch series you can do. It also has a back stretch series and a head and like a shoulders and neck stretch series.
Have you ever thought of it just making a giant, like a small, like bite-sized placard of it that people just take?
Well, I did make a bunch of printouts of it for Pound 2016, and conveniently the last page in the guide you can just print off and like have the stretches for you forever.
Oh, okay, very nice. I'm actually gonna probably put that up at some SoCal tournaments because I think just having it there,
Awesome.
having like, because for me, like, I was like sitting like in a bad posture, and you said, oh, like you should keep good posture, and I'm like, oh crap, yeah, you're right. Like I just forget unless like I'm
Yeah.
physically reminded
Right,
of.
and that's the point of so honestly what I do and what I still do is like if I my primary game that I started playing that I'm completely and totally addicted to is Dota. And if I don't set a reminder every half hour, there's no way in hell I'm going to ever remember to check my own posture every half an hour. And so starting to set a timer for myself got me in the habit of checking my posture every half an hour. And once you get in the habit of checking it, it becomes more habitual to not even need the timer to check it, in which case you can just keep good posture throughout time.
Okay, that's cool. That's actually so do you like? I guess for me, then I'm going to have to like put in like an iPhone reminder, like at a
Yeah.
tournament. Like I'm just gonna have to like put alarms. I think
Yep.
that's what I'm gonna do.
That's what I do.
So stream put I guess phone reminders. I think that's really good.
Yep.
So for newer players, right, they're not going to have the wear and tear, especially if they're younger. What about players that have kind of reached this point of moderately no return, where it's like, oh, like I kind of have the carpal tunnel developing, or like I'm starting to feel the soreness more frequently. Like what do they need to do?
So there's a couple things. The first one is that I need to add the caveat of if you're having pain and if you've been having pain for a while, go see somebody in person. In most states now, you have what's called direct access, which means that you can see a physical therapist for up to 30 days without a prescription from your doctor. That's not true in all states, though, so you do need to check whether that applies to your state. Um, so if you're having pain, you have been having pain, and it isn't resolving, see somebody in person. If you're having pain more and more frequently, and you're like borderline on that point of no return, my recommendation is kind of what I call aggressively conservative management, which is for 1 week, you cut down on your gameplay as much as possible. I recognize that no one will ever listen to my advice if I tell you stop playing. So I'm not even going to bother telling anybody stop playing. I will say, to whatever extent you can, decrease how much you're playing. If you are having inflammation, you want to ice up to 20 minutes every hour. You always want to have a paper towel between your skin and the ice so that you don't get any tissue damage that way. Heat on muscles is more for relaxation and to decrease tension. However, it can also promote inflammation. So if you're having both inflammation and tension, do heat first, come back to room temperature, and then do ice afterwards. If you're having carpal tunnel specifically, you may want to look at a night brace. You can pick them up cheap at CVS. But again, those are things that you kind of need to talk to a doctor in person about.
Is there ever a point where you're just like, if you keep playing, this will ruin your like hands for life?
I haven't found anyone who's at that state yet. That being said, I don't doubt that people are out there who are very close to that point. But interestingly, I know chat's going to constantly be asking about M2K and about pros. Interestingly, at Pound, the people that I found had more severe issues were not pros. They were the amateur borderline semi-pro players who did not quite who are not like the Hungry Boxes and the Mangoes of the world.
Oh, wow.
But they're the people who are trying to get to that point. And I think part of the reason why kind of mid-tier players are struggling with that is because we don't necessarily talk about what higher tier players have gone through or what they do to manage their symptoms. And so I can't speak to what the pros do because some of what was told to me was told in a consultation session, which means it's protected by medical confidentiality. But there are players who have had issues, who have addressed them, but don't talk about them, and understandably so, because there's risks of sponsor issues and organizer issues and things like that. But to anybody who's watching right now, like, please know that pros have these issues and they actually address them. It's not just something that you have to suck it up or deal with it, or this is what it takes to become a pro player. You need to make sure that you are taking care of yourself in the process of trying to get paid, or get for doing a really good job of playing video games with your hands.
How do so because you've been in multiple games, how do the health of Smash players look relative to other esports you've seen, or is it different types of pains?
It's different types of pains a lot. There's definitely a difference between what kind of pains somebody who primarily uses keyboard and mouse versus somebody who uses a controller. And I would really be interested to see if there's a difference between different types of controllers, similar to the way that there are between different mains for Smash. It wouldn't surprise me because there are different repetitive stresses involved for each of those.
Unfortunately, there's like a buzzing sound.
Yeah, I can hear it too. I'm not sure if that's me or you.
That's me.
Check.
It's from me. It's like something outside triggered, unfortunately. I closed the window, so hopefully it...
Somebody's luxurious.
So, I don't know what the buzz is all about. Oh, no. Alright. Hi. Caitlin? Well, that's unfortunate. I'm sorry. Alright. Hi.
Hello. Did we fix
I should probably... Gosh dang it.
Did that do it?
I think so. Is it on my end or your end?
I have not the faintest idea.
Alright. It's all good.
It appears to be working now, so there's that.
Awesome. So we left off on comparing different esports. Yes. So it's just pretty much like repetitive pain, and I imagine, you know, the repetitive pain, the target areas of our bodies are going to be different.
It is.
So
repetitive stresses are definitely different between, you know, keyboard, mouse, and consoles. Oh, my mic got quiet.
All right. This usually happens on a new call. That's my end. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I think you're good now. What happens is the XSplit ends up like lowering the volume whenever I get a Twitch call. I need to fix that setting. It's kind of Skype call rather.
Skype call.
It's pretty annoying. Anyway.
Seems to be fixed.
Yes. So did you have a good experience with your first big Smash major? I know that you got to see Prog in D1. How's the overall experience?
It was absolutely a fantastic experience. I really could not have felt more welcome. So many people were willing to. I mean, I've been following the scene, but I am by no means any good at all. Like I am terrible at playing. You don't want to see me play. And plenty of people were like willing to talk to me about things that I can do to improve. I got introduced to so many different communities, the Smash Sisters, tournament organizers. I got to meet some of the commentators, that I've watched stream for a while. People were helping me move stuff around, which was really helpful because I had this giant portable freezer that I was bringing with me. And I was really impressed overall at just how open and accessible the Smash scene was.
That's awesome. I'm glad that it was an enjoyable experience for you, because I think all of us really just enjoy having you around. I think for the most part, I tried my best as a community leader on our blog to try to promote hand health. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just like looking at WebMD, and like WebMD will tell you that you have cancer in like every way possible. You have a cough, so like I don't know if what I'm saying is accurate. So it's really nice to have somebody with the authority and the expertise to say like here's what you need to do.
Yeah, I would recommend avoiding WebMD if you don't want to believe that you have cancer. Also, to people in chat who are asking who I main Marth, but I'm going to say main with quotation marks because I don't play all that frequently. I don't play all that well, and most of the time the reason I play Marth is because Marth is good if you know what you're doing. Marth is also reasonably not terrible if you have no freaking clue what you're doing.
Yeah, he's really tough because you swing and all of a sudden you get killed and you're just like, what went wrong?
Yeah, I just generally assume that I have button mashed too much again and, such is life.
Yeah. It's kind of tough because, like, you play Dota and, like, for you at this point it's kind of second nature because you're playing, and then you try to explain it to your friends, like, oh, you just do this, this, and this, and it just goes like.
Sounds about right. Yes.
Yeah. So there's a learning curve, but we hope you stay. What events are you going to up ahead, if at all?
So I can neither confirm nor deny in what context I will be there, but I will definitely be present at SmashCon, Super SmashCon in August for sure.
Okay. And do you do so I imagine you have a pretty busy life. You're a professional, you work, you do all this esports stuff, you do stats stuff, but do you have a consultation service that like people can go to?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always happy to take questions on Twitter, either publicly or through DMs if people don't want to talk about their public issues. I also can be emailed at asklurkaderp@gmail.com, which gives a little more room to ask a more detailed question. And if necessary, I have done video conferencing or have people take pictures of their setups to kind of see what kind of ergonomic setup they're working with. So yeah, no, I'm more than happy to help to whatever extent I can online. I just add the caveat that I can't diagnose anything online. It's absolutely impossible to do. What I can do is give you suggestions and advice based on what you're telling me. And if what I'm hearing or seeing is something that I can't solve, I will help you find someone in your area who can help you out.
Okay, that's awesome. So we're really glad to have you. We'll take a few questions of Q&A. I don't really have much to add. So, Chad, if you want to ask him questions...
to whoever suggested that I pop out of a cake to surprise M2K, that may be the funniest suggestion I've heard so far for convincing him to get his hands checked out.
Did you guys arrange something already, or is that private?
No, nothing arranged yet. I did offer, if I'm at a LAN that he's at in the future, I'd be more than happy to look at his hands for him for free. Currently, my backup plan is either challenge him to a best of 5 where he can't use any body part that's hurt in the past year as a result of video games, or challenge him to a best of 5 where the loser has to give the winner a hand evaluation, and I'll just repeatedly suicide off the stage. I'm sure that this will work very well.
That's actually really funny. It's like he does it. It's like, oh no, I feel pain here. And that's actually a really good game. So
no, but in all seriousness, I recognize that he's publicly spoken about having hand issues before. So if everyone wants to get him checked out, consider this your open invitation. I will gladly work on your hands anytime, M2K.
Awesome. I think we're all happy because we all want to see him do well, and for the fact that he can't really practice, that kind of sucks, because he's been a top player for a really long time. So some questions in the chat. What are your opinions on standing versus sitting while gaming?
So I think standing for too long can be honestly difficult and can end up putting you in a weird kind of forward head, lean forward posture. But there's my recommendation would be sit while you're playing so that you're in a good supported position, but every half hour or so stand up. If you are someone who plays a lot in addition to working at a desk, look into getting a transitional desk, like a sit-to-stand desk. They make an attachment called a Vary desk, which is basically it looks kind of like a laptop tray, but it raises and lowers. So that might be useful.
Okay. I've seen those, and I've actually been contemplating getting that if I ever move again, and I have a need for a desk. I think that's the next one I'm going to get.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm going to avoid the trolley questions.
Just like sitting for too long, though, standing for too long can also cause its own issues, so the best answer is a mix of both.
Have you ever seen Rudolph play?
I have not.
I wonder if I could find a picture of him. Basically, he takes 3 chairs and lies on his stomach.
Interesting.
Let me find a picture and link it to you. Any thoughts on that posture?
It's less than ideal for deep breathing. It's not a posture I've really had to consider before. I'm not sure how well it would do for hand control given how much pressure you're putting on your forearms. And the amount of stability your forearms would need to provide you might decrease your ability to react quickly.
Okay, it looked kind of relaxing, but I imagined it being annoying after a while. But it seems like his little thing. Let's see. We'll take a few more questions, and then do you have anything you'd want to add?
Nothing in particular other than like a really huge thank you to the entire Smash community, both, on site, at PAN 2016, online, all the support I've been getting, and just like the sheer number of people who are genuinely interested in making sure their hands are okay. That's the reason I started doing this in the first place. Like, doing ergonomics and injury consultations and things like that. I started doing this because I like playing video games. People I'm friends with love playing video games. I love watching really good people play video games, and I want to make sure that all of them continue to be able to do so.
That's awesome. I hope that you like one day. I'm not sure if this is in your plans. Like you could develop your own like office of consultations specifically for esports. Like once like esports gets big enough, that could be a thing.
It'd be pretty darn cool if that were something I could have happen in the future.
Alrighty, so how can people follow you? Get a the social media stuff.
Yes. People can follow me on Twitter at Lurkaderp, Lurkaderp. Also, to the person who's asking, is cracking your knuckles bad? No, as long as it doesn't hurt. Honestly, it's just popping the air bubbles and the synovial fluid in your joints. If it does hurt, that's a problem. Don't crack your knuckles if it hurts. You can also email me at asklurkaderp at gmail.com. And I think that's the two easiest ways to contact me right now.
Awesome. Well, like, thanks for coming on. I think,
of course,
I'm going to be putting this on YouTube as a resource, and I'll also be linking your Google Doc. I think those are really amazing resources. I'm going to be printing out a few myself. And once again, thank you for, coming on today.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure to be here. Glad I got to chat with you.
Awesome. Well, have a great night.
Thanks. You too.